My career started when I was 9 years old. I mean, this sounds a little ridiculous, but that's what happened. I saw every movie. It could be a love story, it could be a horror, it could be Dracula, King Kong. Every Saturday, my mother would, when I was like 6, 7 years old, drop me off at the Kenosha Theater, and I would be there all day watching movies over and over, watching Laurel and Hardy, the shorts in between the movies, and that's what inspired me. I love movies. My aunt gave me a 16mm camera, and I started to make neighborhood movies with plots, and I put visual effects that I figured out, simple visual effects that I figured out how to do, and like ghost effects and so on. And as I grew older, my desire to make films grew. I always wanted to make movies. That's what I wanted to do. And at the university, I had a newsreel that I started, and the theaters downtown ran them. After college, I started a TV, commercial, and industrial business, and I decided after a short time that, nope, movies are made in Hollywood, not in St. Paul. So I closed my business and moved my family to Hollywood, and I decided that's it. And I didn't get any encouragement whatsoever from any of the friends or relatives or wife or whatever. Everybody tried to discourage me, but I wanted to make movies, and that's what I did. I had professional 16mm film from the business that I had in St. Paul, Minnesota, making television commercials. It was 16mm commercial camera. After months, I made some contacts, and one of my contacts was an optical house that did titles and dissolves. And so one day, this friend said, yeah, you still have your 16mm Cine Special, don't you? I said, yeah. He said, look, we have a job to do for an outfit doing a documentary in 16mm, and all our equipment is 35mm. Could you, we'll hire you for a day and you do the titles and dissolves and things? I said, sure, great. So the next day, walking down the hall with my camera, and a man walked up to me and said, pardon me, is that your camera? I said, yes. He said, you know how to operate it? I said, of course. He said, how would you like to make a feature movie? I said, you gotta be kidding. Of course I would, but this is 16mm. They make movies in Hollywood in 35. He said, no problem, the lab will blow it up. We'll shoot in 16, they'll blow it up. But the first movie I made for practically nothing. Got people who were wannabe actors and actresses and crew people and so on. They all worked for very, very pennies, practically. But the pictures were made for absolutely zero, except a few dollars that the different actors and technicians we paid. It was all non-union, and they were wannabes, as I was. I wanted to make movies, and they wanted to be in the movies. And that's how my first two movies evolved. And after that, the promoter who had stopped me in the hall, and we worked, I made the films, he disappeared with the money. So there was nothing. So, I mean, as far as financial gain for me, but that's okay. I made two movies, and that was a credit that was going to help me. So I sat down. I'm going to make another movie, but without him. Naturally, he disappeared with the money. So I started, put a sheet in the typewriter, put at the top, let's see, a title. And I thought about Greek mythology, the Cyclops. And that was it. I typed the Cyclops. I'm going to make a movie about a giant with one eye. And this is another example how I didn't get any encouragement. And a very close friend, a woman, walked in and said, what are you doing, Bert? And I said, I'm writing a screenplay. He said, you're writing a screenplay? Hysterical. It made her day as she laughed, leaving. You can't write. What are you talking about? And she left. Didn't bother me. In other words, I kept going no matter what. And I wrote a screenplay, The Cyclops. Then, next step, I had to raise money to make the movie. And someone told me that there was a lawyer in Beverly Hills that helped beginners raise money to make small movies. And I went to him, and he said, I'll read your script. And after a week, I called him. I said, did you read the script? He said, yes. I said, can you raise money for me? He said, no, I'm not going to raise money for you. I'm going to finance it myself. It seems that many of my films had giant spiders and giant grasshoppers, giant men, shrink men. So each different type of creature had a problem. Some I had spiders, some I had snakes, some I had whatever they were, rats. They each had their own problem, and we had to solve, well, what makes this rat, how can we train this rat? He doesn't want to, anyway, that's the story. Gradually, as I started to make larger budgeted films, which came quickly because my films were a success. The Cyclops, boy, it did terrific at the box office. So I would get film deals with more money, and I used to made them with a larger budget. The larger the budget, the more complicated a screenplay is, more locations that you have to visit and so on. You need more time. But when you're making a simple movie that takes place on another planet, you go up to Big Bear, you go to Bronson Canyon, you don't need much. You know, location-wise, you got it. And I just kept going, each film, larger budgets, and made pictures for, like, right now MGM has 7 of my films, Warner Brothers has 2, and that's the story of my life, my film life.